what you want, when you want it, where you want it. This is The Mesh.
Wanted me to build her a happy home. Now she's living all alone. Dallas, Texas. Crazy women. That's the only kind I know. Crazy women. Keep me running for the door. Crazy women. I guess they're all the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 59, volume 4 of 2021's number 74 ranked podcast in the Hickory metropolitan area, which does include Newton, Conover, Hildebrand, and Taylorsville, but excludes Valdez, Connolly Springs, and Bethlehem. The date is January 20th, 2021. My name is Chad East, and I'm a big fan of fresh new starts, planning for Super Bowl parties, and finally learning how to utilize some of the functions of my new iPhone after 10 years of simply using it to send text, check sports scores, and send work email. Hank, how you doing?
I exclude nobody from any of those counties. So those are all my people. So this is only Chad East speaking. So my name is Hank Eimer, and I'm a big fan of the beauty of springtime weather in the middle of winter. Being able to make faces at people under your mask, and insulated cups, one of Chad's favorites.
Why, yes, they are, Hank. Why, yes, they are. Insulated cups. You know, I have about 12 of them in my trunk as we speak. You never know when you need to break out the insulated cup and, share it with a friend or several friends. You never know. Well, anyway, buddy, let's get started here. I want to start with, I was talking about my iPhone. So I've had an iPhone since the original iPhone came out. The iPhone 1, however long ago that was, 10, 14, 15 years ago. And then I moved up to the 3. Then I got the 5. Then it went to the 8. And so recently I got the 11 for Christmas when I purchased the 11 for my daughter, Olivia, and another version for my daughter, Lucy Rose. Well, since then, I am learning all kinds of wonderful things about this phone. Not only can you just send text, which I typically just use it for, text to my friends, send a funny joke out or a witty comment, or check to see who won the state versus, Georgia Tech game on Saturday, or, listen to some, Georgia Tech, definitely. Or maybe listen to some music or send a work email. But now I've got all these things synced up. Like I can put my new AirPod buds or whatever, AirPods in. I can say something to my phone or through my AirPod, and I'm controlling all these things. Like I'll send text with my voice through my AirPods. I could look at a video by saying something through my AirPods, and it'll pop it up on my phone, Hank. The technology that I'm learning from my daughters is tremendous, because before it was simply just a phone that I would call you on, Now all these wonderful things I can do with it.
Well, I got to say that's awful sad, because all of us were doing these things for the last year. And I think it's not more of a function of you getting the iPhone 11 as much as it is that you just have zero tolerance for learning more stuff, like many of our friends.
I'm such a boomer. I mean, I have to admit it now. I mean, that my kids call me a boomer, and I would always think that I was the furthest from a boomer, But, dude, I am the definition of one. I don't want to learn new things. I just want my stuff to do the stuff that it's supposed to do. I don't need to learn all its bells and whistles. Just let me talk on it and send a text. But, man, I've learned so much. It's very
You sound like Tom East or Pete Eimer right there. I got to tell you.
Oh, God, isn't that sad? Isn't that sad? And speaking of Tom East, Hank, I hate to say this, but we got our first hate mail regarding the Big Fan podcast this past week. And no, it didn't come from someone in, let's say an enemy of ours from St. Stephen's High School in 1991. Nor did it come from a tennis captain of a team in Boone who we beat for the championship last year in our mixed doubles. No, it came from my blood, my flesh and blood. My father sent in so terrible hate mail regarding our podcast. Typically, the things we receive via text or email, they're always friendly and positive, like, oh man, you guys were so funny when you were talking about, that movie the other day, or man, great insight when you're talking about the top 10 list of, Christmas songs. But no. This email consisted of, Chad, don't want to hurt your feelings, but your podcast sucked. Those were the exact words. I don't want to hurt your feelings, but your podcast sucked. So, that's actually all he said. So I called him immediately. And I was like, whoa, dude, that's pretty rough. We're just we're out, Hank and I are out here just trying to do some good things for the community and have a little fun and try to do a little entertaining show. And, all feedback I get from you is that we really suck. Can you enlighten us? What is the deal? And he said that
we got on him. We got on him.
He said, because I really wanted to know why he really thought it sucked. He said the past episode was kind of boring, and he did not realize why we have to bring Addison Fox's name into the podcast, which I don't even remember us talking about Addison, but I guess my dad really doesn't like Addison. I guess. I don't know. But that was his biggest complaint, is that we brought Addison's name up in the podcast. So Addison, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, my dad is not your biggest fan. But anyway, can you think of anything that really went wrong during last week's episode that would force him to write this horrible email regarding our show?
No, I can't, because one of the things that I will refuse to do is I'll reference Tom East, but it's always in a good way. Like I really enjoy Tom East, but the way that this conversation's going, I'm kind of fearful to bump into Tom East here in the next little bit. I don't want to bump into him at the ABC store or at the grocery store or anywhere else, because he sounds like he's a man on a mission. And when you type a 3-word email to your son, your show sucks, we got some real issues.
We got a problem. He may have. It might be coming to me now. Maybe the reason for all of this, his planning to tell us how bad our show was. He was interviewed by the Hickory Daily Record. Okay, it makes sense now, Hank. Yesterday, he is going to be in the paper on Sunday. They're interviewing a lot of veterans, and they want them to tell a little bit of a story of their history and like their, experience in the military. And so there were 4 veterans interviewed. Now that I think about it, I think he was using that. So I would bring him on the show this week. Your show sucks. Well, if my show sucks, Dad, you should come on the show. He probably wanted me to say, hey, you should come on the show and you show me how good you are. Then he could come and push his segment that will be in the Hickory Daily Record on Sunday. Do you think that's what he's doing?
Man, he's a marketing genius. He's been selling printing since you don't even know when. So you know what? I give it up to Tom. He knew that the best way to get to you was to tell you that you suck. And you were going to do everything in your ability as a son to prove to him that, Dad, I want you to be proud of me and I don't suck. Let me show you. Let me have you on my show and let you promote your story. Because you know what the real underlying problem is with your dad right now? Do you know how much attention your mom's getting from that article she did in the paper the other day? If she got 40 compliments, he's looking for 41.
Exactly, Hank. I think we are on to something here. He's a little jealous. He's a little jealous that his son has a podcast and his wife stole the headlines of the Hickory Daily Record about 3 weeks ago. And he wants his light. He wants the light to shine on him a little. So anyway, Pop, good luck to you, man. I hope at least 12 people buy the Hickory Daily Record Sunday and read your article about your time in the Vietnam War. I'm sure it will be very, very worthwhile. So if you guys can get the Sunday paper, HDR, go check it out. My old man's in there. So, buddy, what you got going on in your world, my friend? We've got a lot of interesting things happening. Before I let you speak, I just thought about something. It is January 20th. This is Inauguration Day. We were talking about in my intro that I am a big fan of fresh new starts. We're not political on this show by any means, but I did feel that it was time for a fresh new start. And I hear we're speaking to you about 3:15 on Inauguration Day, January 20th. Everything went off without a hitch. I've heard, I haven't got to see anything nor read anything, but I don't know if you remember, Hank, just 2 weeks ago, to the minute is when the rioters stormed the Capitol. That was 2 weeks ago to the minute, almost, this is crazy. And now we're celebrating a new president who is inaugurated today.
It's crazy. It is crazy. I mean, it's the inauguration in general, not, like we said, we're not going to talk about what administration, whatever. It's always kind of an interesting day because there's excitement, there's pageantry, there's there's a lot of there's tradition, there's a lot of that, and I feel like some of that was lost today, but all of which this day is going to happen every 4 years. There's going to be I think this was the fourth time that a president didn't show up at the inauguration of the incoming president. So there's going to be this inauguration, just like those four others, are going to be talked about for years to come. It's just from 2 weeks ago, it's nice to have kind of a modest celebration or a modest event opposed to what could have been, because there could have been a lot of turmoil or a lot of problems.
Yeah, a lot of chaos. Actually, today I was listening to someone else describe today. It's kind of like the whole country can maybe exhale. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but you know what I'm saying? Like you take a deep breath and you just exhale, right? That's kind of the way I've been feeling today. So think about this, President Biden now has a huge task in front of him. And, he's got his list is more than 10 things long, but, it's a long list of things that he wants to fix and change and do for our country, probably really quick. Hank, I know one thing that was on your list of things to do when you you rushed into this 2021, January 1st. And here's one thing that I really want to do. Well, I think it was called Dry January, Hank. And I know you're in the midst of it right now. Can you tell me how Dry January is going for you, buddy?
Well, it's going pretty well. Okay, so you start off we're dry, but let me just start this off. It's like every year, you do this for your own growth, and you do it to just challenge yourself to do something against the norm. I see you shaking your head over there, but it has less to do with the alcohol and more to do with the mind of the individual doing it. Okay, and yes. When I started this January of Dry January, I did this with 5 of my brothers. Okay, 5 gentlemen that said, you know what, I'm going to test this in my own spirit as well. Okay, 2 of those brothers fell down by the 5th of January. Okay.
Man, I'm proud of them for making it 5 days. I think that's pretty good. That's quite the accomplishment.
They went to the mountains together, and neither one of them wanted to hang out with each other long enough, so they had to bring liquor out. So I get it. I completely get it. The next individual, there are 3 of us left. One of which you would not think would be so disciplined, has held strong. Okay.
Good for him.
Is completed and devoted to the month. Okay. I have had one cheat day, and I'm being honest. I've had one cheat day. I had Harris went out of town for 2 nights, and Reagan and I had dinner, and I come on, didn't have to get up for anything. It was this Friday night. Come on, okay. So one cheat day.
One cheat day, yes.
So our third friend, who I think tried to call you today and tried to incriminate me, said that he was going to do it with us, but he wanted one carve out, just one, that he could enjoy red wine when he had steak. Okay,
that was the one clause in his contract, right, for this Dry January.
Yeah, it's like, if I have a steak, I've got to have red wine with it. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. Okay, we are on day 20. He has had steak 18 out of 20 days. Okay, those other 2 days, his wife, who I talked to yesterday, I said, well, we've had this little carve out for steak. And she looked at me and she goes, not just steak. So he is not dry. He's as wet as a scuba diver, as my friend would say. He is not, and he wants to get all the credit for it.
So, you've done this for the last few years, as you mentioned. So you and this group of individuals, that's the pact you make, and most of them fall off the wagon, like you said. But, when you guys do make it to January 31, whoever does make it, maybe the other buddy who I think I know, who it's shocking to me that he's still alive in this thing. I figured he'd be done, January 2nd, but he's still motoring along. So what happens January 31st, or actually February 1? What happens on that day? I mean, do y'all blow it out, or just normal consumption continues?
Well, I will say it depends on the day that it falls, right?
True.
So the 31st is a Sunday. So I'm sure there's going to be some conversation about that Saturday being the crest day that maybe we get Saturday night. And
Right.
so I'll just say Saturday night will be an interesting evening if that's the case.
The fella who did this little clause in the contract of red meat and then stocked up on so much red meat that he can eat it for the entire month of January, to me, it's brilliant. It is brilliant, I tell you. So anyway, Congratulations to you guys. I hope you make it through the next few weeks and enjoy yourself on that January 30th, that Saturday night. Yes, sir.
What do you think? What do you think the over under on days of Chad East making it? Let's play a game. Over under Chad East making it the day. What's the over under? Is it 7 days? Is it 4 days? Is it 14 days? Is it 31 days? What's the over under? What's the betting man say?
Sure. And I know what Vegas would set the number at, and it would probably be less than 12 hours. But if I have the willpower, Hank, and I do, I could stop right now for the rest of my life, Hank.
Here we go.
Right now, right here. I have the strength and determination to do that if I want to. But the question I ask of you is, why would I do that? I don't want to do that. I have no reason to do that. So I would say, if it was up to me, I would last a lifetime. Lifetime. If it was up to Vegas, let's give it 8 hours. Let's give it 8
hours. Okay. I think that's a reasonable approach. What is the average over under for our Davey Drives a Hummer fantasy football league total members that we crack? Who stays in the short, you don't have to give names, but what's the shortest if we all continue, and who gets and who's the longest? Do we get a 12-hour and a 25 days? What are we getting?
I'm giving a 4 hour. Let's go a 4 hour. So this person would wake up on January 1, about 4:00 in the morning, and go ahead and make a Bloody Mary. So I'm going 4 hours for the under, right? And then for the top of that group, I would say there's a couple fellas that if they really wanted to, it'd be solid 3 months. I'd give them 3 months that they'd say, hey, I don't need to have a drink. Hey. What do you think?
I think you're probably onto something. I think that there's more people closer to the floor of the basement than there is to the roof of the house. I can tell you that much.
Absolutely. Well, that was a fun game we played right there, Hank. Let's do this one. I'll pose the same question to you, and let's take your. Oh, I don't know if we should. Yeah, let's do this. Your working office, because I know you work with some fantastic people. Some of them maybe like to party. Some of them don't party at all. So if you had a roundabout average figure, would you say, same question to you, what is the floor? What is the ceiling?
So the floor, we got people every day talking about they're walking out here taking, take a shot or something. So, I would say that we could talk in minutes, not hours for the floor. I'd say every third office at my building has a bottle of liquor in it. Okay. Yeah. There's a lender here in town that instead of bringing Christmas presents, they bring us mini bottles. Knows us well. So you're talking minutes, not hours is the floor. Outside of the people that do not drink here, which is great, fantastic, I would say that the over is probably that 2-3 months. I think people can commit to it and be busy, but this job will drive you insane.
Yeah, as does our job. And so at our plant, if I ask myself the same question, I'd say the floor again being about 4 to 5 hours, the ceiling being about 24 hours. Yeah, so it's we work in some stressful conditions over in the printing industry. So, we're under tight deadlines. So a drink is needed at all times, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, January 20th, we're coming to you live. Do you know what happened exactly 1 year ago to this day, Hank, as well?
I don't.
Exactly 1 year ago, the first known COVID case was reported in a small town north of Seattle. 1 year ago to this day, January 20th, the first COVID case domestically here in our country was reported. Do you also remember, and I don't remember, we talked about COVID, I want to say it was like toward the latter part of January, early February, and we were like, what is this thing? This is nothing, it'll blow away. But then I said, man, but do you remember, I saw people wearing masks in the mall, going down the escalator and all this stuff. Well, man, this stuff is 1 year ago. 1 year ago. But I would like to say,
bring that up again. I thought you really were getting ready to say, do you remember when I said this? We'd be at a mall. You've done it twice in the podcast, and people, I'm going to get hate mail saying, tell Chad to quit telling the story about how he was the one that called how devastating Corona would be.
I don't know why I just had to plop that little part in about the escalator and the mask and the mall. I just like to bring it up. But anyway, yeah, it's been 1 year ago. And so if you think about 1 year, all the stuff, and we did that thing in our last podcast, all the stuff that's happened in a year, which feels like 8 years. But the vaccines, Hank, they're starting to come. We're starting to get them. My mom and dad are on the list in 2 weeks to get them. We had some friends in our town who've taken the vaccine, and everything is going well. So anyway, we're moving in the right direction. But again, 1 year ago, the first COVID case today came out in Seattle, Washington. So anyway, I just thought that was ironic as we start fresh with our inauguration of our new president on this day. And we think back 1 year ago to this day of the first COVID case and now how we'll move forward. So anyway, fresh new start happening today, Mr. Eimer. Today. Yes. So one more thing I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you kept up with any pop culture lately, but your favorite and mine, no, Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. They're Splitsville, Hank. They're separating. Kim has had enough. I don't know. That dude is like the top 5 worst human beings. I think this dude is terrible. But anyway, so I'm happy for her. Like, what do you think about the Kim and Kanye thing? Do you think it was all a ruse for attention and money and publicity? Or do you think they really cared about each other and now he's just too crazy for it to last? What do you think about all this?
Can I be, I'm going to be brutally honest with this because these are two people I hate. I do not like them. And hate's a strong word. I don't want to use that. But Kanye West is an individual that I feel like nobody can tolerate. There's no woman on the planet that want to be with him. There's nobody that wants to be around him unless that he can do something for them.
Right.
Kim Kardashian is the only person, because she is so starved for fame and money that she will sink to the depths of the society to put herself at a better light. And he could be the only person that people would say, I can't stand him more than her.
Right. I see.
Those two, as far as I'm concerned, are like magnets on the same end. That like when you try to push them together, they just don't go together.
They repel. Yes. They repel from each other. Yeah.
That's what every civil human in America has done that they've tried to get next to has just been pushed away. And those two, they just flipped and stuck together. I think they're horrible people. I did not know they were splitting. I did not care they were splitting. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they have 4 kids. So I wish that their kids the best. That would be a tough. Anyway, those kids will have anything they want, but think about what they have to deal with on a daily. Woo, that's tough. But anyway, when I started reading that today about their split, I started thinking, so when I was going through, I was 24, 25. My friends are starting to get engaged. My friends are starting to get married. I'm getting married when I was 25. Was there that one couple that, you hung out with? You went to all their engagement parties. You get invited to the wedding. You might even be in the wedding. You might give a speech at the wedding. But deep down inside, you had this feeling that, this one just ain't going to make it. Kind of like the Kim and Kanye. Everybody knew that one was destined to fail from the get-go. Hank, do you have maybe one of these stories? And there's no names, please. But, a feeling that, even if it was just an engagement and you were with your homeboy just thinking to yourself, God dang, this just doesn't feel right. Or at the wedding or at the bachelor party or something like that. Talk to me about this.
Well, I will tell you, there was one of my buddies who him and his girlfriend, wife, were like oil and water. I mean, if they were out together, the sky was red and he said it was blue.
Right.
The car was too big. She said it was too small.
This podcast is sponsored by Jackson Creative, a custom communication agency located in downtown Hickory, North Carolina, specializing in online content creation. To learn more, visit thejacksoncreative.com. Jackson Creative, we tell your story.
It was constant. And I thought to myself, if this is what being married's about, I don't want to be married. I don't want this hassle. And sure enough, engaged, married, still together 20 years later.
Wow. Yeah,
Still
fantastic.
together. But it just goes to show that you kind of grow as you've been together. And maybe it was because they were both young, 21, 22, 23. But they're still together. God bless them.
So question for you, this couple that you're referring to, so when they got together from the beginning, was it from the get-go like that, like oil and water, or was it like, good, and then it got real tense and not horrible, but, conflicts of interest between the two, and then they kind of figured out a way to make it right? Was it, or, how did it go? How did it transform?
I feel like it was hot early. It
Yes.
it was straight uphill.
Yeah.
And then rocky.
Yeah.
And then it started getting smooth again. But it was not that kind of rocket. It was just kind of like an understanding.
Yes.
And I feel like it's probably the way that most relationship, some aren't as volatile. Some aren't as like up and down. But, some of the most passionate people with their spouse also are the ones that you see that have the biggest fights and the biggest blowouts and everything else. It's kind of that up and down. And,
Completely.
we see it all the time on social media. People freaking out and talking about, I've seen this before. You'll see it on somebody and they're talking about, oh, we just went to Disney together, and then we went to Cabo together, and then we went to, British Columbia together. Now we're divorced. It's like these highs and these lows.
Right.
So I don't know, man. It's I'm just glad they're together.
Yeah, I think for majority of the public, the way you described at the beginning is boom, 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 skyrocket, and then you get a couple rough patches, and then things kind of smooth out. I think that describes the majority of most of the relationships here in America. I know it's very similar to mine. Everybody has, you got that love, that such strong connection at the beginning. It's like almost lust, and you fall in love, and then you get to know the person a little bit more. You start having kids. Oh, and this part's hard, and your finances, you're working that in, how to share, how to become one. And then after a while, time just takes you where you feel like everything is really, really smooth between the two of you. So yeah, man, I can understand exactly that. I'm glad to hear that couple that you refer to are still together. The one that I knew of when we were going through all the engagement parties, the year of it was the year 2000. We were all getting married. There was one that we all said, there ain't no way. And it didn't work out. It lasted about 4 years. And so, but the good thing is both people remarried and now are as happy as they've ever been. So
Yeah.
there's a positive to that story. But yeah, at the beginning, at the wedding, we were like, no way, dude, this ain't, we're going to have a good time at the wedding. There's no way this one's going to make it. And sure enough, it did not. But that's how it goes.
That's funny.
What you got for me? I did want to ask you something, Hank, before I let you go. This will be real easy. Did you hear about the Super Bowl halftime show, which is 3 weeks away? Who is going to be performing and all that good stuff? Have you heard this yet?
No.
Yeah. So do you know of the artist called The Weeknd?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So he will be the main halftime show the artist. But the interesting thing, from good old Hickory, North Carolina, Eric Church is going to sing the national anthem at the Super Bowl from our hometown. Is that not unbelievable?
Yeah, well, he's from Hudson, and you're one of those people that will claim people that are from around our hometown.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's the problem with you. That's the
I think
problem.
Hudson was on my list of accepting. I accept the Hudson people. Yes,
No, I
into
think
our
he said
Hickory.
it wasn't. See, the people need to hear this. Hear what he said. Eric Church, I accept you. I accept you. You lived over in Caldwell County. I dig it. I like you. All right. Now, Chad, he's trying to be all inclusive now that you're singing the national anthem. So
Trying to get some tickets, Eric. Trying to get them tickets, bruh.
No, Eric, I don't even want any tickets. I just want to. If Eric's out there listening to me, I got a question for Eric. Every year, my brother-in-law and I, we like to, as Chad will say, put a shekel on something in the on the Super Bowl. Maybe bet a coin or two.
Yes.
And one of our favorite things to do is to bet the over on the national anthem. Favorite things to do. Now, I'm going to have to go back and see if there's any footage of Eric Church and see if he's done a national anthem. But I wonder if he's listening right now. If he could hold a note, maybe he could, strum his guitar a little bit more than he needs to. Maybe point out to the crowd before he starts. Maybe that can happen.
I love that, dude. Yeah, we can talk to his dad. See if he can put a good word in for us that we really need to hit the over. And, maybe we'll just prolong it for an extra 3 seconds so we can get that number.
We need a 2:15 national anthem there, Eric. See what you can do.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, man. All right, buddy. Well, anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. You go hit me with what you got, friend.
Well, one of the things that I think is really turned out and this is, I've heard this from a couple of people, is when you are walking around town and you are, going from your car to the office or whatever, people look different with masks on, right? They look different.
Yeah.
They could look younger, they could look older, they could, you think you know somebody, you don't know somebody, people are waving, you're like, who the heck is that? It's changed our society a little bit. The thing that it's really helped with, though, is when you're in the midst of a conversation and somebody is boring you to death, you can look them dead in the eyes and seem very interested. And underneath that mask, you're telling them, I just want to strangle you right now. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're exactly right. I just got out of a meeting just an hour ago with one of my clients. The same thing. Anyway, let's continue. Yes, Hank, continue.
Yeah.
I had my sunglasses on too, so a mask and sunglasses. They have no idea what I'm doing behind the scenes, right?
No idea. So I think that it's funny with the addition of the mask on how we can kind of work towards, getting socially backwards because, for so long, especially in the South, not to take away from our northern friends, but, growing up in the South, it is about being polite. It's about being mannerly. It's about looking people in the eyes, which is the same. I know it's the same. Kids that are doing the same all over the world, but sure. I'm just saying in the South, that is what is drilled in us. And
those demanded of us.
Those masks are taking away from these gentlemanly qualities that we're trying to push. So right. I just thought that was very interesting the other day because I actually caught a glimpse of somebody doing the old mouth roll underneath their mask to somebody else in my office. And I was like, you better be careful. You're flying, you're running on a real
thin line there. So tell me the mouth roll, so if you become such a pro at this mask wearing and being able to check the vibe of what the person is doing underneath the mask, you can actually see a mouth roll from underneath the mask. What is happening here? Unreal.
I've perfected the art of the conversation where people are either blowing smoke or, taking the smoke in, and admittedly they'll say, I don't trust them. I don't like it. And they're giving it. So under the mask, they will have the sweetest eyes, and you'll tell them that, hey, this is the way that's going. But underneath that mask, you can see that little movement.
That's the mouth roll. Okay.
That's the mouth roll.
Got it. Got it.
Is. Yeah. Hey, first time you see it, I expect a text message saying, I just got the mouth roll.
Yeah, I think I get that quite often, but now I'm ready to look for it now, Hank. So I would definitely let you know when it happens to me because I'm sure it happens to me a lot. Yeah, the Tiger Woods documentary. It's the newest thing that everybody's talking about. We talked briefly before we came on the podcast today to see if you'd seen it, and you have not. Neither have I. However, we've read that book, and one of my buddies who's seen the documentary, they were like, "Man, I really hated Tiger Woods before. Now I hate him so much more. He's such a sleazebag." And then my retort to him was, yeah, that book paints him in a very bad light. That documentary, obviously, I haven't seen it, but I'm sure it paints him in that same light. But I was thinking about that is all. And if you guys haven't seen it, spoiler alert, this documentary and the book talks about Tiger from when he was born to the way he is now and everything he's had to go through to become the champion that he was, but also to become a champion and sacrifice everything. You're gonna be an asshole. Unfortunately, in many cases, you don't really know how to act around people. You don't really know how to treat people because the only thing that you really care about is becoming the best. Right? Does that kind of sound like maybe how Tiger was brought up to be the best and don't let anything stand in your way, kind of deal?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. But the other thing is athletes like him, Jordan, I feel like is the same way. They are competitive. Like they talk about Jordan and Tiger talking more trash than anybody, but that's because they were bred to be competitive.
Right.
The other thing is that their home life, Jordan's was different. His home life, Tiger's home life with his dad was bad. His dad was not a good dude. And I think that pushed him towards women and everything else because that's what he's grown up with. The other thing is both those guys, you had to be concerned that every single person that was put in front of you wanted something from you.
Right.
And Tiger knew that from an early age. Michael probably found that out at a later age. Mm-hmm. But, Tiger was, when he was 13, he was on guard on who these people were, why they were on his camp, what they were doing. And so I think Tiger Woods, you can see in these things that he was not a great dude. He's got a lot of flaws. It'd be hard to grow up like that. To be put up in a pedestal when he was 2. It'd be hard to be Britney Spears. It'd be hard to be Justin Bieber. It'd be hard to be Michael Jordan. And so, can you imagine the pressure Bronny is feeling right now? LeBron's son?
Yeah.
So, I think that he is flawed, hugely flawed, but he has been subjected to pressures that we have zero idea about.
Yep. And so that was leading me to my question, who is the more flawed character in the Tiger Woods saga, the Tiger Woods life? Is it he or is it his dad? I mean, his dad taught him these ways. When I say taught him these ways, I don't mean it that way. He grew up watching exactly what his dad did. His dad was his idol. Whatever his dad said was gospel. My dad does this. I see him do this. I'm going to be that same dude. So who is the more flawed individual? Was it Tiger or was it his father?
His father definitely. And his mother was a saint. His mother put up with a bunch, and in the book especially, they painted her as the opposite end of the spectrum, being his caretaker, being his, the person that always took him to play, the person. And but I would say it would be hard, and let's say womanizing, because that was a big part of his dad. Everybody knows this. It would be hard to watch your dad womanize quite the way that he did, and for somebody you respected, and not have that become part of your lifestyle. Sure. And so I think that his dad was the worst individual because Tiger was just fitting these flaws into a very successful lifestyle. His dad was fitting these flaws into the lifestyle that Tiger was leading him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So think about this too. Like he loved his mom and still loves his mom so dearly. And to see the other person that he loves just as much treat his mother like that with these other women, think that what that did to his head. You know what I'm saying? Like a flawed individual, but he has reasons for these flaws. I wonder if Tiger could take it back. Think about this. If he could start over they said when he was like 10 months old, his dad would put him in the little, what do you call it? The little seat, and he would hit balls in the garage and Tiger would watch him over and over, watching his dad hit the golf ball. Every meal, he's sitting in that little seat. I mean, until when he was 2 years old, he's hitting the golf ball and just killing it when he was 2. I wonder if Tiger could go back knowing all that has happened to his life. Granted, he's been on the top of the world, the peak of, athletes and people, famous people in the world. And he's also seen the bottom of the barrel too, when it came to his infidelities, his adultery, his drugs, and all this stuff. And if he could do it all over, would he do anything different? I wonder what he would say to that.
You know what? It seems like Tiger's more at peace now than he ever was. And either he's more at peace with his flaws or he's more at peace. But, I think that the lifestyle that he lived, he didn't have a moral. I don't feel like he was taught morality in a way that was like expected of him. Like, it's kind of like his wife that he married was and is probably one of the most attractive people on the planet.
Right.
Can we agree on that?
Oh, there's no doubt about it.
I don't know what kind of person she is. But if you are married to that and immediately chasing physically something else, something's wrong, right? Right. Something's wrong. It's kind of like, this is kind of off base, but this is the way my mind works. If Halle Berry and Jennifer Aniston cannot get a man to commit to them, there's something wrong with those two women. There's something wrong with them.
Completely agree, man. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, because I was thinking about it the other day. So Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston were married, and she seems so cool and she's beautiful. Brad Pitt, cool dude, whatever. I was like, marriage made in heaven. But maybe she's crazy. He could not deal with whatever it was and had to split. And just not Brad Pitt. 3 other dudes too that she's been married to, right? Anyway, so I understand what your philosophy is here. Yeah, something a little off with them.
Let me tell you something here. Jennifer Aniston, beautiful woman. Yeah. You said crazy. Brad Pitt left her for Angelina Jolie. You talk about a crazy woman. He can handle that crazy and not the other. She's got to be bananas crazy, right? And Halle Berry, but probably my hands down most beautiful woman on the planet in my life. You know what I mean? Like if I had to say top 3, her feet must stink. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be terrible.
Yeah, because her background too. Like she's had like 18 different dudes over the last 20 years, and they all come out of it like, "Get me away from here!" They are heading for the hills. So yeah, it must be her feet that really stink. Interesting. That's a good philosophy that you bring up about. See, it doesn't matter how beautiful or I think people always are going to not everyone, but Tiger had the most beautiful woman. She seemed like a great wife, took care of the kids. You don't know what happens behind closed doors, but it just wasn't enough. I think people with personalities like Tiger and maybe Michael and whom else ever, it's all about conquering. I want to get the next one. What's the next one? I want to. It's hard to settle, I guess, for people like that. They're on to the next one. There's always something better. So, but the grass is not always greener out there, and I think Tiger probably realized that soon after the world came crashing down.
When he was laying face down in the grass after getting hit in the back of the head with that golf club.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why I am definitely going to watch that documentary, though. I've heard some pretty amazing things about it. But anyway, Hank, before we leave, I did want to point this out. So around Christmas time, my company partner, Deluxe Printing, partnered with the City of Hickory, and we printed this really fabulous book. It's called City of Hickory. It's the then and now 150 years of, Hickory, which is pretty awesome. If you want to buy one, because these things are really good, I got one for my mom and dad for Christmas, and it shows pictures of like all kinds of different aspects of our town, like from the downtown, what it used to look like 150 years ago to what it looks like now, what the churches looked like 100 years ago, boom, what the schools look like. So it's a before and after kind of book, a lot of images, a lot of great interviews. So anyway, if you want to buy one of these awesome books, Hank, I'm going to give you the address here in a second when I find it. And just know that your friendly neighborhood print sales guy, Chad East, helped to bring this book to Hickory. So to pre-order yours today, you can go to hawkpublications.company.site. Place your order. They're $40 for the book. They'll send it directly to you. It's a great gift for, like I said, for your parents, for your grandparents, for people new to town, for even your friends. I mean, there's some articles about people that we know in there, like that are sacred to us, like C.O. Miller and, these people that helped us grow up. There's a lot of articles about folks like that in that book. So, check it out. It's called Hickory, Then and Now.
Hey, good work, man. And I'm sure that we could get on, if they had a question, they could go to info@themesh.tv and ask about it. We could link that to it. So, always good to have kind of that historical background, because we're not always going to have our parents here to tell us stories of when they were younger, or grandparents. I think I told you, and I think that we've talked about this on the podcast, is one of the things that I've done is I bought my dad and my father-in-law something called Storyworth. And every week they've been given a question. And my dad, not being very technologically savvy, I've been asking the question of him. He's been talking to me about it. I've been writing down notes, and I've been telling the story.
Yeah.
And
cool.
It's been amazing. It really has been amazing. But my dad's 87. And, my hope is, let's just get through this book, in reality. And, but, we always won't have those individuals to tell us what it looked like. You tell your daughters, and I tell Harris about 127 being a 2-lane road. They're like, get out of here. And I'm like, yeah, man, it's 2-lane road when I was in middle school. They're like, you're out of here.
Yeah. Isn't that fun? Like, just to travel around the town and say, this used to be there and that used to be woods. And, there was nothing here, because it flabbergasted them. They're like, no way that that used to be a Roses. That what is it now? Bargain Hunt. That used to be Roses. That's where I used to go get my toys, when I was in 4th grade. So it's
Home Depot used to be nothing but woods.
Just all woods. Yeah, it's great to tell them those stories, because you see the wheels working, like, so no, those were trees right there, and now there's blah 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 here. Yeah, it's fun to go down memory lane with them regarding Hickory for sure. So what you got going on this weekend, buddy? Anything exciting?
Well, it looks like it's no rain in the forecast. It's going to be a dry week for Mr. Heimer. It's going to be another dry week. But
another dry week.
I think Harris is going skiing tonight. He's probably on his way. He's one of his little buddies is on a ski team, and so he uses today as an excuse to ride up there while they're doing the ski team. He'll get a couple runs down on the slope. So he's up there. And this weekend, without basketball and without indoor soccer, we're in between fall sports and spring sports, and we've skied more. But the other thing is we've gotten up later. We've had made breakfast and had real breakfast and kind of farted around the house. And every Sunday we're playing airsoft, which is just, we play like war with our kids. And it's been, I would have said, man, I hate the idea of not having basketball and those things, but it's been pretty awesome. I mean, it really has been.
It seems life is less stressful without running to it. I love the sports too, but going to practice every day, making games for the weekend, it seems like it's just a lot. You got work all week, then you got the sports after work and over the weekend. It just seems like you have a little bit more chance to breathe without the sports. However, I do miss them. As I was telling you yesterday, my Lucy Rose, who's a heck of a basketball player, decided she did not want to try out for the junior high team, which they really wanted her to play so she could focus on her dancing. And so we actually even talked about it a little bit last night. I wanted to see how their practice were going, because a lot of her friends tried out, and she said they're going good. The girls seem to like it. I was like, well, do you miss it? Do you wish you would have tried out for the team? And she said, nope, Daddy, I don't miss it at all. She said, I like to dance more than I like to play basketball. And I said, well, maybe that would change one day, and it might, or maybe it'll stay the same. But the one thing she did say, she said, I appreciate you giving me a choice, you and Mommy giving me a choice on what I can do. Some moms and dads say, no, this is what you're going to do. No question, just go do it. But she said, y'all gave me a choice. So it was a very intellectual conversation with the 6th grader we had last night. So
that must be a quality she got from her mama.
There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. Well, buddy, I wish you luck on this weekend of dryness. It's a warm front coming through at the Hank household where it'll be just lots of water and Gatorade drank, where at the East household it might be a little bit something different. But I will think of you all the way through to January 30th. And to our listeners, please, if you have anything you'd like to talk for us to talk about, or you want to jump on with us, send us a text, shoot us an email. I think Hank hit you with the email address before. It was info@themesh.tv. Hit us up. Continue to listen. What I'm trying to do, Hank, is on Facebook and some social media accounts, I'm sharing the link that our producer Moose posts every week, and hopefully we're getting some hits and some more people are listening to our show, because I do get the every now and then text from people and new people saying, hey, man, I listened to it. Y'all are doing a good job, so let's keep up the good work, sir. And I'll look forward to seeing you very, very soon. All right. Peace to all, each and all out there. And don't forget, fresh start. We got a fresh start starting today. Go America. Peace.
Later.
Crazy women, that's the only kind I know. Crazy women, keep me running for the door. Crazy women, well, I guess they're all the same. Crazy women, I got my foolish heart to blame.
You've been listening to The Mesh, an online media network of shows and programs ranging from business to arts, sports to entertainment, music to community. All programs are available on the website as well as through iTunes and YouTube. Check us out online at themesh.tv. Discover other network shows and give us feedback on what you just heard.